In this video, we'll cover 7 underrated spots in the Columbia River Gorge that you might not have heard of, but you should keep in mind for your next visit. These spots are super accessible and make a great addition to a day trip or a Columbia River Gorge road trip, and we'll talk about some places that you might want to spend the night as well. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Logan. This is Rooted in Roaming. Our goal is to help you level up your adventures in the Pacific Northwest. So if you find this video helpful, please like and subscribe for future videos. It's no secret that the Columbia River Gorge is a gem in the Pacific Northwest. It's such a beautiful region, and we are so lucky to have it here in between Oregon and Washington. The west side of the Columbia River Gorge is known for having impressive waterfalls, lush forests, and dramatic and rugged cliffs, while the east side is more dry and arid and a bit more open with less of the dramatic cliffs, but still tons of amazing views. By the way, I'll be using Google Earth to help you get your bearings. We'll start on the western side and move towards the eastern side to give some sort of direction. Our first stop on this list is the Chanticleer Point Lookout. This is also called the Portland Women's Forum State Scenic Viewpoint, and it's located about 30 minutes east of Portland. The Chanticleer Point Lookout provides amazing views looking to the northeast, and you really get a sense of the impressive scale of the Columbia River Gorge. Perhaps what makes this view so iconic is that you can see Vista House, which is an impressive historic structure that was created in 1917 as a place for people to stop and rest along the historic Columbia River Highway. Between both of these viewpoints, perhaps Vista House is more popular, and you should definitely stop there as well. But what we love about the Chanticleer viewpoint is that you get an amazing view of the Vista House with the gorge in the background, and it's one of our favorite viewpoints in the Columbia River Gorge. That said, you should definitely visit the Vista House yourself. You can go inside if you're there between Monday and Friday, 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. They have a cafe and sort of a mini museum inside, and there's also some really helpful volunteers that you can chat with. The Vista House does have 180-degree views of the Columbia River Gorge, whereas the Chanticleer viewpoint only looks to the northeast. They're only a few minutes away from each other, so you should definitely stop at both if you have the time. These are 2 Columbia River Gorge viewpoints that are super easy to stop at and are definitely worth it. Our next stop on this list is Ponytail Falls. You may or may not have heard of Ponytail Falls or Horsetail Falls. Horsetail Falls and Ponytail Falls are both on the same river. Ponytail Falls is just upstream of Horsetail Falls, and that's why it's also called Upper Horsetail Falls. Both of these waterfalls are super pretty and definitely worth a stop, but what makes Upper Horsetail Falls or Ponytail Falls so special is that you can actually walk behind the cascade of water. It's one of the handful of walk behind waterfalls in Oregon, and it's definitely worth checking out. It's super unique and fun to explore. You park at the Horsetail Falls trailhead, so you get a great view of Horsetail Falls before doing a 1-mile hike with about 300 feet of elevation gain up to Ponytail Falls. Like I said, it's so unique to walk behind a waterfall, and Ponytail Falls is one of the few in Oregon that you can walk behind. For that reason, it's one of our favorite Columbia River Gorge waterfalls, even if it's not as tall or as impressive as Multnomah Falls or La Tourelle Falls. It's definitely worth a stop and super unique. Let's continue east towards the Hood River area. Now, Hood River is pretty well known. It's a really awesome town that you should definitely visit if you haven't already. There's also White Salmon right across the river, which is maybe a little less traveled, but still worth checking out. Hood River has an amazing waterfront and downtown area that are so fun to explore. You should check out both of those parts of Hood River when you visit. The historic downtown area is super fun to walk around. It has a lot of cute shops and great cafes and restaurants, and the waterfront area has an amazing park and some really great breweries and restaurants. We love Frame Brewery. We always stop by there. There's also Ferment Brewing Company, which has a great outdoor space. It has an elevated deck with great views of the Columbia River and the gorge on the Washington side. In White Salmon, we love Everybody's Brewing. They do some really great beer and food there, and it's a great stop for lunch. The town of White Salmon is super small, so you just park on the main road and kind of stroll up and down the streets for a little bit, and it doesn't take more than 30 minutes or so to kind of walk around the town. This Hood River White Salmon area is a great place to spend the night if you're doing a multi-day Columbia River Gorge road trip. Because it's sort of central in the Columbia River Gorge, you can spend one day exploring the west side and one day exploring the east side. A few places that we would recommend staying in the Hood River area are the Hood River Hotel in downtown Hood River. It's a historic building, super walkable location, and it has a really nice lobby and just a welcoming vibe. We also like the Best Western in Hood River, which is along the waterfront. It has a cool pool and a great restaurant. Another option is the Society Hotel in Bingen, which is just near White Salmon. It looks really cool. We haven't stayed here yet, but definitely an option worth considering. Just 6 minutes outside of Hood River is the Panorama Viewpoint, which you definitely have to check out. It's a super easy stop and provides amazing views of Mount Hood to the southwest. You also get a great vantage of the Hood River Valley, where you can see a ton of the agriculture in this area. In the spring, you get to see orchards in bloom, which is super pretty, and then in the fall, you get to see those nice fall colors of a lot of the deciduous trees in the Hood River Valley. This is one of our favorite views of Mount Hood. You're not super up close to the mountain, but you get to see the whole mountain, and you see all of the forest and valley and agriculture kind of leading up to it, and it just is such a great viewpoint that is definitely worth a stop. Just east of Hood River is a town called Mosier, which is super tiny. You probably haven't heard of it. It's a really cute town that is worth taking a few minutes to park and walk around. It's just off of I-84, and it's actually the start of this kind of eastern portion of the historic Columbia River Highway. So you pull onto that highway and there you are, you're in the town. You can park kind of just north of the road in this gravel parking lot. And then we recommend just walking around the streets of the town. It's, like I said, it's super tiny, and it's just fun to feel like a super small town vibe for a little bit. They have this cool hike that you can do right from town called the Mosier Plateau Trail. And that kind of winds up this plateau on the east side of town that provides some great views of the town and the Columbia River Gorge. Also just east of Mosier along the historic Columbia River Highway is this great viewpoint right by the road that you can pull over and take in the amazing views of the Columbia River. Continuing along that historic highway, just a few minutes east of Mosier is the Rowena Crest Viewpoint. This is another one of our favorite viewpoints in the Columbia River Gorge. It has amazing views looking towards the east, where the Columbia River Gorge becomes more of a desert, even more arid than this area. This viewpoint is super accessible, there's no hiking required, and you just get amazing views right from your car. Rowena Crest Viewpoint is also right next to the Tom McCall Nature Preserve, which has some amazing hiking trails that are definitely worth doing. Also, this is one of the best places in the Columbia River Gorge to see wildflowers during the spring. We have a whole article on spots to see wildflowers in the gorge, and I'll link to that in the description, along with all of the other resources that I've mentioned in this video. Last but not least is the Columbia Gorge Discovery Center and Museum. This is just outside of the Dalles along I-84. And it's the official museum of the Columbia River Gorge. It has tons of interesting exhibits about the flora, fauna, history, and economy of the Columbia Gorge. We really love their exhibits. We learned a lot when we went. There's also a great riverfront trail that connects this museum with the Dalles. It's really nice for walking, biking, or running. In addition, the Columbia Gorge Discovery Center and Museum is definitely affordable at only $12 a day for general admission and cheaper rates for seniors and kids. You can have a great time exploring the museum for 2 to 3 hours or even longer if you're reading thoroughly through all the exhibits. I would say it's okay for kids. There's not a ton of interactive exhibits. It also feels like not a lot of people know about this museum, so we highly recommend stopping by and supporting the museum and checking out their awesome exhibits. We hope you enjoyed this video and have a few more Columbia River Gorge spots to check out in the future. Like I said, these are some of our favorite underrated spots that we always like to visit when we go to the Columbia River Gorge. Check out the description for links to those places I mentioned in this video and other helpful articles that we made. Like and subscribe for more videos, and have a great time exploring the Columbia Gorge.